Hello from a Sputnik moment. Thank you for taking a few moments to learn how to set up a responsive grant program in foundationConnect. We are living in unprecedented times. More than ever, grant makers are playing a key role in assisting their communities. One example of such support is a responsive grant. These are typically made available to address urgent community needs, emerging opportunities, testing new ideas, or supporting proven programs. In this brief video, we're going to review how to set up a responsive grant program and application from beginning to end in foundationConnect. We're going to do this in 4 easy steps. First, we're going to create a new grant application record type and internal page layout. Next, we're going to create an application form or clone an existing one if you have one that's suitable. Then we're going to create a new application cycle record, often called docket. And finally, we're going to publish the application URL. So without further ado, let's jump into Salesforce and see how we're going to set this up with foundationConnect. So our first step is to create a record type. And to do that, we're going to go to the Setup menu. And then we're going to go to Object Manager. And from here, we're going to look for our request object. Select the object and scroll down to record types. We're going to create a new record type, which we're going to call responsive grant. We're going to choose the sales process. In this case, we have request process set up, and we're going to add a description and mark this as active. We're going to enable this record type for all profiles in the system. And next, we're going to choose a page layout. We're going to create a custom page layout in our next step. So in this case, just choose one that's as close to what you think you'll need at the end of the day. In this case, we're going to choose the standard request layout. I'm going to click Save. Now we're going to create a new page layout for our responsive grant program. And to do that, we're going to choose a page layout that is close to what we need. In this case, we're going to use our standard request layout. Now from the page layout editor, we're going to do a save as, and we're going to name this responsive grant layout and click Save. Now we've created a new page layout in foundationConnect called responsive grant layout. And from here, we can modify this layout based on what information we want to present our team as they look at this record in the system. In this case, we're not going to edit any fields at the moment, but you can come here and edit them after the fact, or you can pause the video and update your page layout as you need before moving forward. From here, we're going to click Save. And now that we've created the page layout, we need to assign this layout to specific users. So in this case, we're going to click the Assign button in the upper right, and we're going to find our record type by clicking the Next button until we see our responsive grant. Now that we've found our responsive grant record type, we're going to hit Edit Assignment. We're going to highlight this column, and now we're going to change the layout to our responsive grant layout. I'm going to click Save, and now our new layout will be visible to all of these users based on the responsive grant record type we're using for this particular program. In our next step, we're going to set up the application and go through the process of designing the online form. To set up an online form, we're going to go to the App selector in the upper left-hand side of the screen, and we're going to choose FC Portal Management. From the screen, we're going to select the Community Manager tab in the upper left-hand side of the screen. And now we're going to set up, we're going to click Design a New Application and View Existing Application. Now from here we can see all the existing applications that we have in place. You may want to clone an existing application, but for the sake of this demonstration, we're going to set up a new application from scratch. In this case, we're going to name the application our responsive grant application, and we're going to click Create New. Now that we've created this, we're going to add our initial tab where we're going to collect information from our application. We're going to name this tab General Information. And we're going to make this the first tab that is seen on the application. And we're going to have this information saved to the request object in foundationConnect. Click Save, and it's going to generate a page where we can start to add sections of information. The first section we want to create are a list of instructions. So we can grab some instruction text and populate that here. And we're going to choose instructions from the type menu. Click Save. And we're going to add additional questions. Our next question is going to be called Application Title. And this particular field is going to be a data point where we're saving it into the system. So we're going to choose Salesforce data type. And we're going to map the application title question to request name. So we can type in request or start to type request, and we can select request name from here and click Save. The next question we're going to add is the request, the amount of funds the individual is requesting. So we're going to name that requested amount of funding. And we're also going to have this be a Salesforce data type. And this one is going to be called amount requested. Click Save. Now, if you have questions already saved in the system, you can choose from a pre-existing list of questions you've used in the past. In this case, we're going to create this brief application from scratch. The final question we're going to ask for on this application is going to be requesting a description of what the funds will be used for. And again, we're going to map this back to a Salesforce data type called description. And the last section we're going to add to this application is not a question, but attachments. And this is where we're going to ask for supporting documents. Now, for any of these, we could add instruction text. We could also choose to make some required. And we can also add additional tabs to our application. Before we move forward, let's save our work. And then let's also make some of these required for the submission. Click Save again. Now from here, we can add as many tabs as we'd like, and we might want to, and there's numerous different types of tabs you can choose from in foundationConnect. Let's create an organization tab quickly. We're going to call this tab Organization Information. The sort order, or the order it appears from left to right, we'll put it in the second position. And we'll have some instructions so that our applicants know what they should be doing with this section. Please complete and update this, and we've made it nice and pretty. And we'll click Save. And we'll save our questions once more. Now that we've set up our application in foundationConnect, we're going to set up our cycle where we're going to collect these applications from the online portal. However, before we create the cycle record to collect the applications, we need to capture the record type ID for the record type we created for the responsive grant program. So to do that, we'll click on the settings cog on the upper right-hand side of the screen, and we'll go back to Object Manager. We're going to find the request object once more. We're going to go to record types, and we're going to find our responsive grant record. Now from here, in the address bar at the top of the screen, we are going to find the record type ID, and we're going to copy this. And we're going to write this down or paste this someplace where we can get to it quickly in a few moments. Now that we have the record type ID handy, we are going to set up the new cycle record. To do that, we're going to go to the App Launcher and click FC Requests. And then we're going to create a new docket. In this case, you might have dockets labeled as campaigns or cycles. The tab is often relabeled depending on a particular organization's vernacular, but the common name in Salesforce is campaign, and the common name in foundationConnect is docket. We're going to choose an existing record type for this docket. In this case, it's for an application, so we're going to use that. And we are going to name this particular application cycle or application docket our responsive COVID-19 grant. We're going to, let's make that grants, mark this as active. Point of contact is going to be info@sputnikmoment.com. The status of this is going to be in progress. The visibility determines whether it's available to be seen on the portal or if it's only available through a link. We're going to set this up to be available only through a link, but if you do want to make this available to anyone who has access to your portal, you can mark it as public. We are going to use application quiz application type, and we're going to find our responsive grant application form that we just created. And the last thing we're going to do here is we're going to grab that record type ID that we captured just a minute ago, and we're going to paste that into the parameter field here so that you have record type ID, capitalized R, capitalized T, capitalized D, one word, then a colon, and then the record type ID that we just copied. And then we are going to click the start date and select a start date. We'll have it start today, and we'll have this end the last day in June. And from here, we're going to click Save. And now we've set up the cycle for this particular grant application, and all the grant applications that we receive are going to be saved into this responsive COVID-19 grant cycle. Now that we've set up this grant cycle, our final step is to share this with anyone who's eligible to apply for our support. Now the system will automatically generate a URL that we can use to either email out to the public or to a group of our grantees, put a link up on our website, or do it with whatever we'd like. And it generates the application URL here. So you can see it has a unique ID. And this is the second half of the URL. The first half of the URL will be your grantee portal URL. So you can go to your grantee portal and find everything. You can find URL here, and we can take this text and paste it together. And this is the link that we can use to send out to anyone we'd like. If you don't know how to get to your grantee portal, the easiest thing to do is go back to Settings, go to Setup, and on the left-hand side of your screen, type in Community, and go to All Communities. In this case, we have several communities set up for different purposes, but we want to look at our grantee portal, and we can see here this is the URL that we're using. So we'll combine the URL beginning with the URL ending that's generated on the cycle, and then we can send that out as one link. So now that we have those two parts of the link pasted together in our web browser, we can click Enter, and it will take us to the application form that we put together. So it's very brief. It's designed to be a quick application that we can respond to in a very nimble and agile way. And as you can see, setting this up takes roughly 10 minutes. So it's a very easy process. In terms of next steps, we can download the documentation from sputnikmoment.com, going to the blog section of our website and clicking the responsive grants with Salesforce foundationConnect article. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at info@sputnikmoment.com. Thank you for all the amazing work you do to make our world a better place.